Welcome. Today's session will be focused around the field and how companies like yours can maximize BIM on site. Leading today's session will be myself, Nathan Bennett, Southern Territory Manager here at Revizto, accompanied by Sean Hester, our GC-based BIM and VDC Implementation Manager. Joined with us are our guest speakers, Stephen Brown and Waylon Minshew from Hill and Wilkinson General Contractors. In addition, we have Paulina, Acosta, and Garett, Pesnell from Rogers O'Brien Construction. We have a great agenda and exciting agenda planned for you guys today. We'll have an hour session carved out for us. We'll begin with 2 case studies or use cases from our guest speakers, Hill and Wilkinson and Rogers O'Brien. And then we'll follow that up with a quick tips and tricks session from our very own Sean Hester on how you can leverage BIM easily on your guys' end. And then we'll follow that up with a roundtable discussion that will then lead into a Q&A session with the remaining time we have. Revizto by the numbers. Revizto, we're very excited to support a family of 2,500 clients globally and over 100,000 active users. We're also very excited to support 20 of the top 25 E&R firms, as well as customers in over 150 countries. So why ICP? We're gonna leave that up to our 2 case studies from Hill and Wilkinson and Rogers O'Brien. But for those of you that don't understand or know what Rubisto is an integrated collaboration platform in the effort to connect office and field teams with a democratized environment. Revizto is a more effective way to communicate, track, and solve model-based issues across project teams. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and hand over the controls to Stephen Brown and Waylon Minshew over at Hill and Wilkinson. Stephen and Waylon, would you guys like to take it away?
Yeah, I'm trying to get the screen up here. Hang on. Can you see our PowerPoint?
Yes, we can.
All right, Stephen.
Hey, Waylon, I'm not sure if we're hearing Stephen. You might want to you might want to go ahead and lead off for Stephen there, and then he can jump in at the end.
Okay. All right. So using the stamps in the field is something we've been doing the last couple months on our project. Really useful. The coordination with all the subs, it's just been a really great tool. And let's see here. So with our stamps, we've got a couple different stamp categories that we're using right now. One of them is the H&W stamp category. The other one is a subcontractor and the punch list. The H&W stamp category, the way we're utilizing that is everybody on the team has their own stamp. And, we've used the abbreviation for that stamp. The only people that can view that stamp is our H&W team and our architects and engineers. And with that stamp, we use that for coordination. Any issues we see during plan review, we'll place the stamp on the drawing and track it from there. The nice thing is you can stamp it yourself with your own stamp or use somebody else's stamp in order to, if you want them to take the lead on it and go from there. So we also utilize it for our RFI tracking. So if we have the architects on there, we'll use their stamp for to mark and know that we need to write an RFI for this particular item, whatever we're doing in our review. The other thing we do is with that specific category is we'll create a report and send that out every week and review in our weekly staff meetings. Our subcontractor category with the stamps is we assign a specific stamp for every subcontractor that we have on site, that you can see there on the bottom. With those stamps, we allow only our team to view and that specific subcontractor. And we get a lot of good communication with our guys. We'll have the subs involved that are signed up on Revizto to go through, and as they're going through the model, they will use their stamp and notify that they have a question for us or something they want us to review or something we need to coordinate. The other things we utilize the stamps for is, here's examples of the reports that go out. We can set those up to go out every week, every 2 weeks, whatever it may be. So with our subcontractor category stamps, we try to only let them view that stamp. We'll track issues in the field. We don't want to show, the plumber, all the electricians, maybe issues or concerns that we have. We let them, only they're allowed to view it along with us. We also use this for tracking progress photos. That's been something new that we started doing in the field, and it's really great because we can use it in the 3D model and take the picture from same point of view in the model and track our progress as we're going through there, walking the site. We utilize the tags on the with the stamps, and that's how we keep everything separate for each the way we organize our stamps. So for instance, if we have, if we're showing this on this slide here, it's the concrete to progress photo, it's size of concrete that's doing the work, and we have it tagged as progress. If we have issues, we have it tagged as a concrete issue or whatever it may be. If it's a plumbing issue, we'll have the plumbing issue on there. So when we go back to view our reports, we can go back and filter through the tags, whether they're all progress, all issues, whatever it may be, in-wall inspections. And, some of the great things we've gotten is some really good feedback from our subcontractors. We have our foremen that are on site that are really getting involved in using this, and it's helping everybody a lot. Some of our guys talk about getting flooded with the notifications at the end of the day or that evening, and but they like having the tracking. They're really enjoying it. They said, man, that helps us know what's going on, especially when it goes to the guys in the office. And trying to see if there was anything else talking about the stamps. So right now we're trying to do everything in the 3D part of the model with the stamps. When we move into the punch list phase towards the end of the project, we might try it in the 2D, but the 3D is really working out great. And like I said, it's great tracking and communication. We've used these stamps everywhere from doing coordination meetings, flying through the model, as we're talking with some of the owners, consultants, or the owner subs that maybe aren't real familiar with the drawings. We can go through there and place stamps and make notes for added cameras or security or their WAPs for their Wi-Fi, wireless access points throughout the building. It's been a great tool for noting that on the drawings and creating the report and sending it out to everybody so it can be incorporated into the contract drawings. And let's see. I think that's just about all I got on the stamps.
Excellent. Thanks, Waylon. Yeah, I wanted to circle back to see if Stephen Brown, the project VDC manager, was able to get his audio connected for us, so he could just give us a brief background on Hill and Wilkinson and, you know, how they've been successful maximizing BIM on site.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh, great. Sorry about that. Yeah, so as you said, I'm Stephen Brown. I'm a VDC project manager. I have been in the industry for 13 years. I started out in an engineering firm and then moved my way over to a GC. The way that we've been trying to implement our technology into the field, we've basically built relationships with the field guys. And I strongly believe that this is how you're going to do it. You can't walk out onto a job site like IT and just them look at you like, oh, we're getting charged money again for them to be out here. No, you got to be out there. You got to be tied into it to know what's going on in the field, and then your point of view where you can put technology at, whose hands you can put it in. We've had plenty of failed attempts, but we've been trying to gain traction with the field implementation through VDC and collaboration. Little by little, we're gaining more and more success, and we may feel like we're getting nowhere, but every time you're getting a little further. And implementing the process, it's going to be a challenge, and you'll need your higher ups behind you, your VPs, your CEOs, your executive vice presidents, whoever it is. You need them backing you. But overall, you're going to need to have that relationship with the field guys, like I have with Waylon, and Waylon trusts me, and I trust Waylon. And you put it in the right hands, and it's going to take off. Now with Waylon, he's got the trust of all his field guys. Now these guys may look at us when we walk on the job site and think, oh, they're coming from the office, they're nerds, whatever. But they're going to look at Waylon in a whole different light. And if Waylon takes what I have to present and he runs with it and he starts showing these guys, it's going to get bigger and bigger, and it's going to be a snowball effect. So I think that's how you gain more power in turning over technology into the field and getting this stuff in the right hands. These are the guys down in the ditches and daily, and they see the potential of VDC and technology and can bring it to the field. Giving these guys the tools and the confidence will change everything for your process. And you're virtually tying the field, the model, the sheets, the entire team together. And that's going to be powerful for you. If you can walk out to the field, mark something up, send it up into the cloud, and then your entire team can see it, that's where you're gaining something. As the VDC project manager, what I have chose to do is to take our last superintendent that had been on a project, and he's picked up what Waylon's done, and now he's ran with it and thought of his own ideas. And we're going to take this guy and we're going to have him sit in and train our next superintendent. And we'll keep this going until all of our superintendents are trained by each other and this gaining each other's ideas. And can you imagine the ideas that are going to come out of these guys? It's just going to keep snowballing, keep going. And that's how I see it. and it's going to spread like a wildfire. And this is my hope for technology being taken out into the field. That's what I got.
Awesome. Thanks, Stephen. We appreciate the background on Hill and Wilkinson and how you guys have been successful getting BIM on site. And Waylon, we appreciate your feedback on how you've been able to leverage stamps with your field guys and how those have came into play in your guys' company. So we appreciate the case study and the use case and how it's been successful for you guys. So thank you again, and we'll move on to Paulina and Garett. So Paulina Acosta is the VDC manager over at Rogers O'Brien Construction, and Garett is the assistant project manager over at Rogers O'Brien. And they're going to go ahead and present their use case and how they've been successful maximizing BIM on site.
Thank you, Nathan. Can you hear me? Just to verify.
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. As Nathan said, I'm Paulina. I'm a VDC manager at RO. So RO is short for Rogers O'Brien Construction. Garett and I, we're going to present on how we're using Revizto in the field. Garett is currently working on the 3401 and 3501 Olympus projects. Those jobs are getting ready to close out now. And so, yeah, let's get started. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Oops, let's do screen. So a little bit about our company first. We've been in business for about 50 years now. We actually celebrated our 50th anniversary last year. We're Texas-based, and our mission is to be Texas's premier builder. We have 4 offices around the state of Texas, so Dallas being our headquarters. Garett and myself are actually stationed out of Dallas. We build anything from residential towers and healthcare facilities to mission critical like data centers and schools. Our firm's been leveraging BIM for about 10 years or so now, and I want to reiterate Stephen's point, which is very true. I mean, it's taken 10 years of basically building those relationships with our field teams and serving our field teams to ensure that we're at a place where, you know, the transition of technology to the field is a lot easier and a lot more streamlined. In my past life, I worked as a field engineer, and I've been really passionate about bringing tools to the field teams that are easy to use. And it kind of lures them into the BIM world as much as I was sucked into it about 5 years ago. So it was exciting to come across a product like Revitsto, and I'll show you guys why. So my BIM ancestors in the past have always warned me about doing live demos during presentations. So if anything goes wrong, please don't yell at me virtually. I'll do my best to readjust. Okay, so this is the Revitsto platform. And one of the really, really sweet things that our superintendents and foremen on the Olympus projects really like is the ability to transport themselves around the 3D model without having to do a lot of navigating. So it doesn't require them to be, you know, certified gamers or anything like that. I mean, these guys can pick up a platform like this, and then the way that they're using it is basically they're using the 2D tool in Revitsto. So we uploaded the models, but we also uploaded the sheets, and we replaced those sheets with the actual PDF design drawings or contract drawings, as they're better known. And so they'll come in here and they'll usually use the architectural floor plans. So I'll scroll down to a floor plan here. So I'll use the 5th floor as an example. So I'll go ahead and open up that 2D drawing. It looks very similar to the way that they would see it in the Bluebeam app, because currently we're using the Bluebeam app to view our PDF drawings in the field or any other PDF documentation in the field. Excuse me. So yeah, so this is what it looks like. And so if they want to navigate or transport themselves anywhere in this drawing, all they have to do is click this button. And mind you, the interface that you're seeing on the screen is very similar to that of the iPad. So So I go ahead and click on that icon there, and then it pulls up this green box, and then I can automatically click. So I'll double click on any space in this area or in this building. Let me pick a good one. Good. And then it automatically transports you there. So there's no need for them to go from like all the way outside the building and try to fly into this location. So this is one way of doing it. So if they wanted to go back and, ooh, the zoom button's in the way. So if they wanted to go back and visit another floor, they can go back to that 2D tool up here and then click the drawing list. And then, you know, they can go down to the first floor, click the button again, double click anywhere in that space. And there you go, they're there. There's other ways that Revizto allows you to navigate through the model. So you can click on this spaces button or rooms button, and then you can sort out the spaces by name, number, or levels. So our guys will typically click on this button, and if they want to go to the fire riser room, you can click on that, and they're already there. So making it easier for our field teams, especially our superintendents and foremen who are out in the field, and it's not just specific to them. I mean, anyone that is walking outside with an iPad trying to navigate the 3D model, if you've done it before and you have like a crowd of people around you and you're trying to navigate through this model, you would know how intimidating it feels. Maybe it doesn't to you, but it does to me. So being able to just transport through the model is essential. So our superintendents and foremen, now that they're able to, you know, easily navigate the model and feel more comfortable with it, they'll open Revizto out in the field and they'll pull it up on their toolbox. And if any changes happen in the field where they need to make adjustments and they need to, you know, reference the model, they can do so easily by pulling up Revizto and then having a conversation in the field without having to go back to the office trailer and have someone pull up the model, take snapshots, try to make a decision there. It just prolongs that decision-making process, especially for certain decisions that, you know, are not too complicated and things that just can get resolved on the fly in the field. Right, so the other really sweet tool or really sweet thing about Revizto, so if you go back to the 2D drawings, you have the ability to overlay the 2D onto 3D. So one of the things that, you know, in our initial years of doing VDC at RO, there was a lot of mistrust in the quality of the models or the accuracy of the models. This gives them the ability to go through and kind of check to see how those models look. So I'm going to navigate back up to the mechanical floor plan and open that up. And then say they want to overlay that onto our coordinated MEP model, which is here in this platform. You can click on that drawing and then you can click on this green button and it'll automatically overlay that 2D drawing over the 3D model. Right now you're not seeing the coordinated model or the mechanical duct because the section was taken too low. But if I move the section tool, which is really easy to use, I can automatically bring that 2D drawing up. And then now they're able to see the 2D and the 3D all in one screen on the iPad. So they're not having to switch between the Bluebeam app or, you know, like our BIM 360 Glue app which they're using to view the Navisworks or MEP coordination models. So that's been extremely helpful for them. Another really nice thing about Revizto that our field teams like is the Viewpoints tool. So it gives them the ability, the reason why they like it is because the viewpoints in Revizto can be customized within Revizto, and it can be done, you know, on the desktop, or you can do it while you're out in the field. Typically, at least for us, like our process is to create some of these viewpoints in Navisworks, and we have to use tools like iConstruct and a bunch of other tools to try to create all of these viewpoints that are not always necessarily useful to them, or they might not be the viewpoints that they're looking for. So Garett himself actually created a few viewpoints before he did a field walk a few weeks or a couple months ago, and he wanted to see the MEP against the structure near the restroom on level 5. And so he really likes to create all the wall, give some of the walls transparency, and then color coordinate the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems in a way that makes sense for him. So he quickly did that and then created a viewpoint, went out to the field, and then he was already, once you click on that location, it transports you there. So you don't have to do a lot of navigating, and then the model looks the way that person wants it to look like. So just to kind of prove the point, I'm going to go ahead and change a few things about this viewpoint to create my own, just to show you guys how easy it is. So I clicked on this cube up here, and it brings up an objects list. And so you can come through, and then I'm gonna make the floors transparent because that's just how I like to see things. And then I'm gonna come down to this new button down here. Sorry, it's actually the globe with the plus sign. And then it automatically creates that viewpoint for me. And I'm gonna call it Paulina's viewpoint number 2. And there you go. So it's just as easy as that. And it might seem very simple because a lot of other platforms can do viewpoints, but it really makes for a lot of customization for the experience for our field teams to make it feel their own, the way that they want to see the model, the way that they want to, consume this information. It makes it easier if they're able to customize it themselves without having to ask other people to do it for them. And then one of the other tools that has really proved handy for our field teams has been the measurement tool. And I'll go ahead and pass that on to Garett to kind of walk you guys through the way that we're using the tool.
Thanks, Paulina. All right. Okay. All right. Everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So as Paulina said, one of the key things is the measurement tool for us. For our guys in the field, I mean, viewing the model is great. It's a big step forward, but interacting with the model and using the model to check field dimensions has been probably one of the most impactful. So I'm going to go to my viewpoint here on the 4th floor. And one of the best ways that we've found to use the model in the field has been to take measurements. And it's not just using the measurements to check one item. One of the biggest aspects is to be able to easily check between 2 different systems. So I'm looking here at the mechanical duct. I've got fire sprinkler line, and I want to know what the relationship is between these 2 items. So what I can do is I can come here with the measurement tool, and of course, here we go. Oh goodness. Out, back, there it is. All right. So for whatever reason, it's over there. But what I can do here, I can take my measurements. A minute to navigate up. There it goes. All right. So as you can see, I've snapped the measurement tool to the bottom of the duct, wherever it'll snap. And then I've got my other measurement here, and I want to know what the top of this pipe is. So I'm going to push in a little bit. Now, what's deceiving here is because this is a 3-dimensional measurement, you kind of have to look at all the information presented. So it's saying 9 foot 4 inches 3/4, but looking at my Z-axis down here, I only see that I've got an 1/8 of an inch between the bottom of the duct and the top of the sprinkler pipe. So in this area, it's not as much of a concern. But if I come over here, to the other side of my electrical, you can see here that it does become a concern. So it's real easy for our guys in the field to look at these situations as these systems are going in. So our duct guy, so our mechanical contractor's running the duct, and he can see that, and he can get a dimension on how low that sprinkler pipe is. Or when the sprinkler guy, or our sprinkler guy is over here on this side running these main branch lines, he can ask our guys or in the field to be able to, and they can pull the measurements and tell him what his relationship to everything is. So the measurement tool is really simple, but it's really powerful in this regard because all these systems are in one three-dimensional representation, and it's really powerful for our guys to be able to take these measurements real time in the field and see how everything relates. So in that regard, moving from the measurements, I kind of want to get into an actual case study on the project that I'm on. So looking at my 2D drawings here, what we did is we had a review session and we were reviewing waterproofing details. So this is about our 5th day on this project using Revizto, and we're in this meeting and we're looking at our various details for this condition right here. Basically, you have stucco here on a gypboard wall. You have tilt panel you have a painted tilt panel here, and then you have a metal panel system that wraps. So in the discussions of the details that happen right at this condition, where these 3 systems meet, it became concerning that maybe this would hold water on top of the tilt panel right here. And how do we do that? You know, how do we treat that condition? So we started looking at all of our details. And you can see here, I've got 3 different details plus our detail that we've created to kind of go over the waterproofing in this condition. So looking at section cuts, looking at section details, looking at plan details, looking at elevations, we were looking at 4 different drawings in a meeting and just trying to cover this detail and really figure it out. And we were all having trouble. Like picturing like exactly how this is going to interact and what it's going to look like. So being that Revizto was new, I figured that this would be a good idea. So we jumped in the model and we came into the detail. We came into the area we were looking at. And what we were able to do is using the cut function, the box cut, we were able to really isolate down into the detail we're looking at. So as you can see here, we'd come down and we were looking, and what we were able to do is we were able to turn off and on each and everything. And what we figured out is looking at it in Revizto here, we realized that our gyp, after taking the gyp board out, we realized that we would have a little bit of a ledge here. And as we were talking through the details, we figured out that we needed to put a piece of flashing underneath the gyp, seal it all up, tie in our waterproofing here, and then coming back in, plan out our sequence of work so that our detail here would finish to where the stucco would be here and our metal panel would finish there, and we'd have a piece of brake metal flashing that would separate the 2. So that's just one instance in a discussion that started off looking like it was going to be an hour discussion talking about one detail. in about the time it took me to set it all up for y'all to view here, we were able to talk through it, click things on and off, and be able to finalize a detail in about 3 or 4 minutes. So as far as Rubisto on site, what we've been using it for has been probably the minimum, but it has been such a huge leap for our guys, being able to do all this in the field, being able to do all this in the office in real time. It's been really helpful. So that's about all I have. So I appreciate y'all's time, and I'll turn it back over to Nathan.
Thank you, Garett. And thank you, Paulina. We appreciate your guys' feedback and explanation on how Rubisto has been successful for you guys in the field and how you guys have specifically leveraged it within RO. So kind of next up on the agenda is a tips and tricks session by our very own Sean Hester. So Sean, if you want to go ahead and take things away, we can do that. But before we jump into that, a couple quick announcements here at Revizto. So with the global health concerns and the issues going on in the world, Revizto has essentially extended a 30-day free trial to any new users. In addition to all of our current customers, we've doubled all their users on their existing accounts. So for any current users, we've doubled those account users. And for any new users, we'll extend a free 30-day trial.
Okay, I will take it away here. Hey, thanks Nate. Thanks Waylon, Steven, and Paulina and Garett. Just really great to see you guys give some real life examples as far as how you're leveraging Revizto in the field on your projects. And from the streamlined communication of the stamps to the ability to organize issues via tags, reporting, and then from those just easy navigational items that Paulina and Garett showed. You guys really hammered home why Revizto is being used across a lot of different organizations to get this information, this model information, this issue information out to the folks in the field. And just to give you guys a little bit of a background, again, my name's Sean Hester. I'm the implementation specialist here at Revizto for our general contractor customers. And as far as my background, I worked for a large commercial GC for just shy of 12 years, both in Denver and in the Milwaukee markets. So I worked a lot with my project team members, similar to what we just talked about, how to get this information to the hands of the folks who are actually building the building, right? The VDC spends a ton of time coordinating this information, working with the detailers, working with the design team, and previously to tools like Revizto, it really came down to who has the biggest computers on the job sites. And now we have that ability to push this information to an iPad and be able to utilize that on the construction site. So, as Nate said, I do want to show you guys just a couple of quick things. We're not going to spend a ton of time on this, but what I am going to show you is pretty valuable because getting back to that statement I just made about the VDC team having the biggest, baddest computers on the project site, we know that Revizto will work, but we also know that there's some individuals who have some smaller laptops, and we're also tied to the hardware specifications of the iPads, right? And I'm going to tell you that Revizto is going to work on those devices, but there are some things to tweak if folks run into some performance problems. And that's all I want to hit on today is some of those tips that we walk through our field teams, and some of the settings that we show them to use when they're using their iPad. So, to start things off, when the project is being opened in Revizto, the button that we communicate to those teams is this download for field button. Now, again, what I did here is I clicked on the gear, the information part of this project, my project options. And this download for field button here is pretty important, because what that does is Revizto caches the information locally to a user's device. That way they don't have to be tied to a Wi-Fi connection out in the field. What this does is it automatically forces 2D and 3D information to load onto that device. That way they can hit this button, they can go grab a cup of coffee, they can have that initial, hey, what's going on today meeting, and then come back, grab their device, and take a walk into the field. Now, as far as the preferences go, this is where we set up more of that user preference on each of those individual devices, okay? So in general, this setting right here is actually pretty important. What this does is it sets the default screen for each of those users. So if, and Paulina hit on this in her portion of, if someone's not comfortable navigating 3D, well then let's not have them open up Revizto and the first thing they see is a 3D model. Let's have them actually start in the 2D environment. That way they can look at their floor plans, they can use those floor plans and then jump into 3D and as she said, not have to fly around to get from point A to point B. So this one is going to be important. You have these three options, issue tracker, 2D, and 3D, and those correspond to the modules that we have at the top of Revizto. Okay, now the other one that's pretty important is this auto update projects, and that works very much in combination with that download for field button. What this does is it actually allows the user to go walk the site and not have to automatically upload a project. So if somebody updates 3D or 2D information in the project and pushes that up to the cloud, if this is turned on, that user's automatically going to sync the new information. Now there's times when that's important, but when it's kind of an annoyance is when someone's leaving the trailer and they got 1 bar of Wi-Fi and now they have to sit and wait because they weren't planning on getting that information just yet. They can come back and get that later when it's more convenient for them by clicking on our sync button. So we're not saying they're not going to get the information. We're just making it set so that they can grab it when it's convenient for them. So they're not interrupting their workflow as they're walking out into the project itself. All right, now as far as the graphics side goes, this is the typical settings that we talk about for the iPad users. And really what this comes down to is kind of shutting down some of those things that are more graphical, more rendering side of Revizto. You know, the glass reflections, fog, sun shafts showing those shadows. That's not necessarily going to help someone coordinate the piping inside of a building, right? And these are also graphical hogs on those graphics cards. So I really highly suggest turning some of those off. Again, guys, if anybody has any issues, if anybody's having some performance issues, please send them to your Revizto contact, and we can help them through some things to help troubleshoot and just make sure everyone's having that same successful experience as they're utilizing Revizto. Okay. So that's all I have as far as the tips and tricks go for this side. So I do want to mention that I have been answering some questions behind the scenes here as we were talking. So I can go through some of those as well. But Nate, do we want to hit on those questions right now?
I think we answered most of them, right? I kind of wanted to maybe open it up to the roundtable, or we can just transition to live questions that folks may want to ask Hill and Wilkinson or RO. So
Absolutely.
maybe we start off with the roundtable so we can, maybe it'll generate a few more questions from the audience.
Perfect. That sounds great. Well, I'm going to stop sharing my screen then. And why don't we go ahead and I did have a couple of questions that I did want to ask the group. So we can definitely talk about those. Do you want to put up your PowerPoint again there? So for the group, for Waylon, Stephen, Paulina, and Garett, you know, some of you guys hit on your BIM journey a little bit in your organizations, but can you kind of talk through that again for the group as far as, you know, how'd you guys start on that BIM journey? Who did you have to get involved to make sure you had the support to make some initial investments in software within your companies. And why don't we start with Stephen, and then Paulina, if you want to go ahead and answer that as well.
The way we started with it, gosh, it's been a while. With getting it out into the field, we basically just started pushing it. I used iPads, and I started putting iPads in PE's hands, and I started having the PEs try to get into Revizto. We had the PEs trying to fly and run the Navisworks models when we were first trying to do it. And then we slowly transitioned over to Revizto, but it was a struggle. Even my own guys they struggled with it, but because it was something new. And, you know, for the guys in the field, it was already a struggle for them to learn Navisworks if they weren't fresh out of college. So me throwing Revizto at them and saying, hey, fly this model, you know, they were looking at it like, okay, well, this is double work for me now, and I have to run a meeting. And so it just slowly transitioned from there until I cut down on our meetings. And I basically I had to put it out there and say, look, we're stopping weekly meetings. We're not having 2-hour meetings anymore. We're not doing any of this. You're going to get inside the cloud. You're going to do all this through Revizto. And then it slowly started gaining traction. And the COO got involved. And then he wanted me to go out to each job site, train them, and get them to use it. And it has been a struggle. But like I said, when you find that one person that's on the job site that really takes a hold of it, like Waylon did, it'll open doors. And that's basically where we're at now. And it's just growing more and more, the snowball effect. And that's basically how I did it.
Yeah, on our end. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to add to what Stephen said. This is Waylon. Is, you know, for me, it was bringing it up during every meeting. I'd bring the model up and fly through it in some of our early coordination meetings and subcontractor meetings. And the guys just really, it sparked interest. You know, they were like, man, can we get on that? Can we get involved? Can we get, you know, to where we can do that model or look at the model? And it's, I think just using it in the field and the guys seeing us use it and how easy it makes you, you know, where you can look at everything in 3D gets everybody's interest sparked on that. So.
Yeah, for us, so as I mentioned before, the journey started about, I think it was like 10 or 12 years ago. Our founder wanted BIM in the company, and he tasked a few people to kind of find the right team or the right person to start the team. So they did, and this person started finding specific people that could cater to or facilitate the coordination of individual scopes of projects. So he hired a structural guy who came in and did a lot of structural modeling because we were doing a lot of piecemeal concrete at the time. He hired, an interior designer so she can do a lot of the marketing and Hollywood BIM stuff to help our marketing teams, win projects, and a lot of other, staff throughout the years. And then that kind of helped establish, that the kind of the workflows for our team, like what it is, like the baseline stuff, like what are we useful for, what's helpful to our project teams, how do we help our company increase profits, and how do we help our project teams have a better experience in the field. So I think one of the revolutionary things that kind of happened in our firm that really changed things as far as like technology in the field was bringing in, the iPad to Stephen's point, but really like organizing the folder structure and, creating hyperlinks and creating, basically providing that digital documentation to our field teams to be more efficient. And then putting that in the hands of the field and making a push towards that. And then having our field teams realize that they couldn't live without it. So so throughout the years, I mean, establishing that relationship with our field teams, as Steven said, has been key. It's been good to you know, coordinate different scopes of the project, but we've realized in the last couple of years that, you know, that information is very limited to only the people engaged in the process. And so being able to open up that information to like even more people, you know, to the carpenters actually, you know, putting the formwork down, or to our trade partners is, you know, field staff that are putting the work in place, or our own foreman, you know, and having access to laser scan data or to other things has really been, you know, another game changer for us. It brings a lot more of a diverse like opinion, and, you know, especially like ideas for resolving issues in a way that I've never seen before, and it's been really exciting for me to kind of witness for us. So that's been kind of our journey.
I love that. Thank you guys. And you know, the things that really resonated with me is, you know, it's not just about the technology, right? It's a process, it's standard, it's very much people and those relationships. And that's a big part of really getting the technology to be used. And that sometimes that can be, you know, sometimes that's not emphasized enough. So thank you guys. So another one I did want to ask is, you know, on your projects, how have you seen the daily just changes that take place with some of this technology in the hands of the rest of the project team, whether it's Revizto or other types of technology? How have things changed?
Yeah, this is Waylon. For us, it's been the quick response to get a question asked and answered. These guys will on site, flying through, you know, going through the model, looking at things, and when they can use the stamp to put a stamp on it, make a comment, and sometimes within seconds I get a notification. I can look at it, and we can go out there, look at it together, and just communication. It just keeps things going real quick, and going from the 2D drawings to the 3D and seeing it in those different ways, instead of just flipping through the drawings and trying to figure out where that condition is or how to look at it from going to multiple details is what's helped us in the field.
Yeah, I would second what Waylon said, at least for us, and a few other things too to add on to that. Tools, you know, it's important for a tool to be also adaptable to the amount of changes that happen. And so being able to give people not just all the responsibilities of changing or updating this documentation or the data in these platforms to just one or two people, because it creates a bottleneck. Something like a product like Rubisto, where it gives you, like, I uploaded, you know, all of the sheets to our platform, and then our VDC specialist was out there, you know, and helping like upload models and stuff like that. But giving the field teams the ability to update the PDFs themselves and not have to wait on us to go, and every time that they get, you know, a new drawing issuance, they can go through into Revisto and be able to upload that, and it's a very automated and easy process to do, not us always having to be updating the product ourselves. So that and then, you know, for our teams, at least our VDC teams, and we didn't experiment with this a lot on this project, but we look forward to experimenting with that in the future, is using the scheduling tool. So being able to publish from our working models directly into Revisto, using the Revisto scheduler. So you go in and you set, you know, at every day at this time, I want Revisto to pull out the information and post it. So you're not having to do that manually as well. So the product or the tools have to be changing as well, with the speed that the changes are happening on site.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you guys very much for that. I think you really highlighted some important things there. So thank you. And I did want to show one thing. There was a question about point cloud and how Revizto can handle the point clouds. All the other questions, as Nate said, we have been going through and answering those kind of one-on-one. But this is one that, you know, it's always worth actually showing what we can do within Revizto as far as being able to navigate some of this information. So, you know, what we're looking at right now is a mechanical space with a piping coordination model in there as well. And as you can see, you know, Revizto is handling this just fine. This is something that I can also use on my iPad. So again, just making sure that this information isn't just sitting on the biggest computers on the site, they're actually getting out to the folks in the field. So if anyone on the webinar today, the Wrapup today, has any questions about, you know, workflows or settings or things that we need to do to populate this information in their projects, please give your Revizto contact a shout out. So I did want to show that. And then as far as the roundtable questions go, again, thank you to our guest speakers for answering some of those additional questions for the group. It's always good hearing your insights.